Hello, it's Mana. So I'm still single, and honestly, there are a lot of single women in their 30s and 40s in Japan right now. But why? Why don't they get married? And yes, me neither. Why don't they look for the one? Or is it actually becoming harder to find the right person these days? Japan is going through a really uncertain time. Prices keep rising, life is more stressful than ever, and many people are struggling with the future. In a situation like this, some people might think marriage would become more important because two people can support each other emotionally, financially, and mentally. But interestingly, many Japanese women are still staying single or struggling to find the right partner. And trust me, the reasons are much deeper and more complicated than the people outside Japan might imagine. Some of these reasons come from personal experiences, and some are connected to the reality of modern Japanese society. These are definitely some of the reasons why I gradually gave up marriage and slowly started losing the desire for it. By watching this video, you may get a glimpse into what's really happening in the lives of many Japanese women today. Are you ready? Let's get started. The first reason is actually very personal, and I think many Japanese women who focus on their careers might relate to this. In my 30s, I was completely focused on my work and building my career. Then, when I was 39, one of my male friends who I sometimes mention in my story said to me, "Wow, Mana, you are late. 39 sounds really old for men." I'm sorry. And honestly, until that moment, I had never seriously thought that I might be too late to find a partner. But around that time, I started hearing comments like, "You are late," more and more often. As I got older, those words started quietly whispering into my everyday life. So instead, I decided to focus even more on my career and work as a head chef. In Japan, there's still a quiet prejudice towards older women in society, and I think many women in their 30s and 40s slightly feel this pressure too. In fact, many single women start giving up on relationships once they reach around 40. Of course, biologically, having children can become more difficult with age, but it made me realize how strong the social pressure and the stereotypes around age still are in Japan. And I think many Japanese women carry these feelings inside without talking about them openly. The second reason is really connected to the first one. This is just my personal experience, but if you work in a restaurant industry in Japan, especially if you aim to become a head chef, you often end up working extremely long hours. And I think this is also connected to Japan's low productivity and chronic understaffing problems and intense work culture. After working long hours every day, I just needed time to recover mentally and physically. So naturally, I started cutting down the time and energy I had to meet new people or look for a relationship. And before you realize it, you get older and suddenly the situation around you has completely changed. The third reason is that Japan is actually extremely comfortable for single people, especially in Tokyo. There are so many people living alone here, particularly single workers, that Japan has created countless services designed specifically for one-person lifestyles. You can eat alone without feeling awkward. You can rent tiny apartments made for solo living. There are single seats in restaurants, convenience stores, everywhere, food delivery, solo karaoke, solo travel packages, even one-person barbecue and yakiniku exist now. Because of that, the environment in Japan makes being alone feel very normal, and it gives people a sense of comfort and ease about living alone. The fourth reason is dating apps and social platforms. These days, the amount of scams, fake behavior, and suspicious people on some apps has become a really serious problem. In my previous video, I said I never used dating apps, but actually, I did try one once many years ago. My uncle was worried about me and even paid for the membership. So I thought, alright, maybe I should at least try it once. But then what happened was, after I registered my profile, I suddenly received so many messages, and some of them were almost exactly the same. It made me feel that they weren't sincere at all, like they were just copying and pasting messages sent randomly to a lot of women. And also, when I used the popular language exchange app, I received messages from some people and talked with them for a while. But after we had been chatting for some time, if I didn't reply for a little while, one guy suddenly started sending me a huge number of messages in a single day. At that point, it started to feel really uncomfortable, like he had bad intentions. He even said things like, "Tell me your personal address now." From those experiences, I started to feeling that it was really difficult to tell which people were genuinely normal nor sincere. In Japan, people even warn each other about certain patterns. For example, I've heard people say, "Be careful, men taking photos with pets." Some of them were scammers. But then it becomes confusing. Because after hearing some warnings, you start wondering, wait, then who's actually normal? So in the end, I started feeling exhausted before I even meet someone properly. Of course, many people generally find love on dating apps, but honestly, it also depends on a lot on luck. The fifth reason is a lack of emotional attachment or emotional energy towards relationships. And honestly, I think this is something many men feel too, not only women. As people get older, many start choosing things that feel lighter, easier, and less emotionally exhausting. People become quicker to give up and they naturally choose more efficient and peaceful ways to live. Because of life experience, you start to predict outcomes before things even begin. You can almost see the future from past experiences. Of course, people still feel lonely sometimes, but at the same time, many think, do I really want to risk getting hurt again? And little by little, protecting your peace starts to feel safer than opening your heart to someone new. Ironically though, this mindset can make people even more alone for a time, and another thing is, as you get older and become more independent, it becomes rarer to meet someone who makes you think, I really want this person in my life, because they've already built a stable life on their own. So I think this lack of emotional attachment or maybe emotional urgency is one of the biggest reasons it becomes harder to find a partner later in your life. The sixth reason is that there's now a huge gap between real life and social media. Personally, I feel that many photos and videos online are becoming very far removed from reality. On YouTube, for example, you mostly see successful channels, but in reality, those people are only in a small percentage. Many creators spend huge amounts of time, money, and strategy behind the scenes. Success is not easy at all, but because people constantly see these polished lives online, many start chasing unrealistic lifestyles, appearances, relationships, or success. And little by little, some people begin struggling to accept ordinary real life as it is. I think this is becoming a kind of modern disease in society. Like people are emotionally living inside edited highlights instead of reality. Do you see these tendencies in your country too? Now, living with AI is becoming normal and we may face an even more unrealistic world in the future. That's why I think real human connection is becoming more important than ever. We need to value real conversations, kindness towards others, and the present moment. Because if everything around us becomes more artificial, maybe the most precious thing will be something very simple, being genuinely yourself, building real value in your life, and truly living your own real life. And most importantly, finding real love. I don't think there's any substitute for genuine human connection. I hope you will find a great partner in your real life. Thank you so much for watching my video. Until then, I would be happy hit the subscribe button. See you in the next video. Bye!